Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to go over sort of what I think is going to be the meta breakdown. Normally I would do like a tier list, but for this list, it's so weird because we have Chain exiting the meta, Starvo is exiting the meta, and then we're getting three new heroes, right? Or essentially three new heroes. Icelanders now became bumped up to CC. And on top of that, we're getting a bunch of new cards for some of these heroes. So like Lexi's gonna have some more cards, Oldheim's gonna have some more cards, and Icelander's gonna have obviously more cards. So it's a weird meta because I don't think you can truly make like a tier list right now. It's just too early. We don't know what's gonna happen, but I do think that there's gonna be certain buckets of heroes that you could do, and that I wanted to kind of give my take on how I think the overall arching like feel and buckets of meta will be in. So I have a tier list here. Tier list, right? One section is Ice. That's kind of like the first bucket I think that's going to be in here, right? And there's no like any ice is better than the other. I just think we can go ahead and put these up here. Like you have Icelander, Oldheim, and Lexi. I think all these will be one kind of group. Then you have Aggro, right? In Aggro, you kind of have Fi. You have Katsu, obviously, Briar. And then you probably honestly could put Kano in here just because he's going to be like aggro based. He's kind of a combo deck, right? You probably could just put him in the solid category just so people don't come at me in the comments. But you have that, and then you have Reinar, right, in your aggro category, in my opinion. Then you have Prism. Prism has her own category, and I'll kind of explain why here in a second. And then we have like solid decks, right? Like I think like just solid like good decks that are going to be able to be used, and I kind of put them in here. And then you kind of have like your rogue decks, which for me right now are Viserai, Azalea, and Levia. Okay, so kind of going into it, right, and why I chose these things. Because so right now I think, and this is a prediction, we'll see how it goes. If it changes, we'll see. But I think there's truly going to be a triangle meta in Flesh and Blood early on. We'll see how the meta changes over the course of the entire set of Uprising. But early on, I think you're going to have three sets of meta, right? You're going to have Ice, you're going to have Aggro, and then you're going to have Prism. Now, each one of these kind of beats each other, in my opinion. I think Prism is going to give Ice issues, like Oldheim and Icelander and Lexi a little bit, going to give them some issues. I think Ice is going to give Aggro issues, and then Aggro is going to give Prism issues. And I think it's going to be like this rotating door. If you made me pick which one of these groups will be most powerful, I think Ice is going to be the most consistently powerful. Early on, I think it'll be Aggro, as is Aggro is in most metas early on. In any meta game, Aggro always kind of like goes through it. But I think eventually you're going to have those three, and then you're going to have just solid decks here at the bottom that do well at certain times, depending on who they play and stuff like that, right? I think even Kano could be put in the rogue category just because of all the AB that's going to be flying around and all like the damage prevention that's going to be flying around. So you might want to put him down there. But yeah, this is how I see it going. So like, talking about Ice, for example, Icelander is the obvious choice. She's going to be able to stall games out. She, in my opinion, is the first true control hero, to the fact to where she is being proactive. Like Oldheim is control, but Oldheim doesn't really play the game. He just blocks and tries to deck you out, and it's not very interactive. Icelander is very interactive while playing against you, but also controls your side of the board. And I think she's a first true control hero. And she has some insane tech where she can just make frostbites on frostbites on frostbites. She's going to give people like Katsu and Fi trouble, especially because you're going to have to run like 18 blues in those decks to even be able to have a turn most times. And like, it's just going to be a grind fest with them. You're either going to have to take tempo early or grind it out, and even then it's going to be hard to win. You have Oldheim, who gets some cool ice tech. I think you'll start seeing like really tanky ice Oldheim decks that cause you to put a card back on top of your deck. Like, right, like Oldheim, if he's a full ice build, will be able to wait until Fi's close to mass trigger or Katsu's close to mass trigger and then just make them put a card back on top of their deck. Same thing with Briar, be able to de-react and make them put a card back on top of their deck. You're basically... Oldheim now has the ability to make you play with a 3-card hand most times if he wants. So he's going to be really good for just tanking. And you have Ice Lexi. Ice Lexi has some insane cards. I'm going to be doing an Ice Lexi deck tech here soon. She has cards that are basically like the next time you fuse, create X Frostbite tokens, right? So like you could play that card, then you play one arrow, you fuse it, it creates 3 frostbites with it on hit, right? So it's just, she's going to be pretty nuts too. And I think these 3 decks will give these 4 decks issues, right? Especially Rhinar. Rhinar's really going to be a struggle because there's already cards that don't cost a ton, but they also have an additional cost of like discard a card or do whatever. And if you have to do that along with also paying off frostbites, it's going to hurt him. Briar, I think, is the least affected, quote, quote, by ice because she has a lot of blues and she can be a little bit more dynamic in her play lines. Whereas Katsu and Fi are going to hurt reasonably bad, and then Reinar's just going to hate his life into ice. I've had games as an Ice Lexi where Rhinar, I let him hit me for legit like 12, 14 damage turn 1 and just beat him because he legitimately did not have a turn the rest of the game. So that's where I think those are at. Then you have the next group of heroes, which is Aggro, which is Briar, Fi, Katsu, and Rhinar. Bottom line, they're going to give people like Dromai and Prism trouble. Like, you know, the illusionists they're gonna be able to go really wide, be really efficient with their attacks. Not to say that like Herald's Prism can't side into them and do well, but it's just they're a natural counter to illusionists in general, specifically Prism. Fi is gonna be really good, presenting a ton of mass triggers and a ton of draw effects. Katsu's gonna be even more dynamic with his aggro package. I have a Katsu deck tech coming out soon as well. You know, take the tempo and double strike alone, adding them to that deck, just make that deck even more powerful and dynamic. So really good for that. Briar's still going to be Briar, really good cards. And then Rhinar, obviously. So they're going to keep Prism in check. And then you have Prism as the third one. Prism's going to kind of keep Ice in check. She can pitch away a lot of stuff, right? She can prevent a lot of the arcane because of, you know, just her natural pitch values. She can go really wide without giving up a lot of cards from hand, depending on what is on her board state. She just gives, especially people like Oldheim, trouble. I mean, we've seen Oldheim get 40-0 at a national tournament between Prism and Oldheim. Iceland will be a little bit more dynamic, I think, and Lexi is definitely winnable. Like Yuki showed that she can beat Prisms with her list, but you sacrifice a lot of the ice tech in order to do that, which then makes you worse against aggro heroes as a Lexi. So it's going to be a trade-off for Lexi. I think with ice, like Lexi's gonna have the hardest time because you're gonna have to pick and choose. Like you're not gonna be able to be good against both buckets. You're gonna have to pick which bucket you're good against. Because ice will be better against aggro heroes, but worse against Prism. And like the aggro based Lexi will be better against Prism, better against Prism, but maybe worse against like racing other aggro decks. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, Prism will be good against ice, but not as good against aggro. So these 3 buckets are going to kind of be in a circle, like beating each other, in my opinion. And then you have the solid decks, right? I think Dorinthia is and Dromai are probably the 2 best in this solid deck category. Dromai's remain to be seen. I put her in the solid category and not in like the illusionist category because I simply don't know how she's going to be built yet. It's going to be interesting to see. She's a very complicated hero in her card pool and what you can do in their design space. So I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how people play her. And go forward. Dory, like specifically Axis Dory, is really good right now. Dawnblade Dory got the new specialization, which allows you to potentially put up 2 counters a turn, counting her own Dawnblade counter effect. It's just really dumb. Pretty insane stuff. Saw Dory do really well at the Vegas Battle Hardened. Got top 8 against players with, you know, we had multiple call-in winners in that group with Michael Hamilton, Yuki, you know, Isaac Trout, all those guys. Like we had really great players in that field, and the Dory got top 8 with Dawnblade. So really solid deck for that. Dash will be interesting to see how she does. I think both versions of Dash are really good. It just depends. Like it takes a really skilled pilot to know when to go into boost versus into control mid range. Bolton did really well at Vegas overall, but it still remains to be seen where he goes. And then Bravo is just another solid deck, right? Control Bravo is going to be a thing. You know, you almost could put him up in here with, he's not ice, but he's going to play an ice-like structure, in my opinion. And it's going to be really interesting to see how he goes. And then you have the road decks. Azalea is still Azalea. She can play well. She plays top 8 at ProQuest, didn't she win a ProQuest? She got in the final. But she has to play the right hero. She is going to hate ice. And she is not going to be able to compete with some of these top tier aggro decks, especially Katsu and Fi and the tools that they got, in my opinion, unless you just high roll red in the ledgers. Like you're not going to beat those heroes. Viscerai, like there were some people in Vegas running like the pummel slogism Viscerai build. And that build is like, it's truly interesting. Like when that build hits, that build hits. So like I lost to a Viscerai Pummel, but it's because he legitimately like played Amplify the Arknight with 5 rune chance, did 11 damage. Next turn, played Rattlebones, went and got Amplify the Arknight, then went and then pummeled it. Then the next turn, he had another Rattlebones. So he basically, long story short, played 3 straight Amplify the Arknights with 4 to 5 rune chance each and just, outraced me as a Katsu. But that's like the height of Viscerai, right? His Viscerai is either going to hit like a truck some games or he's just going to suck. And he's going to hate ice as well. The rune chant cost reduction does help a little bit, but it can hurt him if he doesn't like make rune chants consistently. Levia is just Levia. She's not in a good spot. The Bone Basher fatigue plan, I played one of those in the Uprising Battle Harden. Not Uprising Battle Harden, gosh, Vegas Battle Harden. And I won as a Katsu. It's definitely good, but I don't think it's good against the field as a whole. And you have Kano. With all the AB, it's not going to be fun for Kano. With Dromai and even with a lot of the damage prevention generic cards that people can possibly tech against like arcane damage with, right? And with Icelander being in the meta, people are going to be thinking about arcane barrier and arcane damage. So he's going back in the rogue category. He definitely can do well. He always like seems to come out of nowhere, but it'd be really interesting to see where he goes. But yeah, I think the meta is definitely going to be these 3 buckets, and it's going to kind of like Prism beats Ice beats Aggro beats Prism, and it's just this vicious circle. So we'll see how it kind of goes with that. Obviously, there's some matchups in here like Briar. Oldheim is a little bit more favorable for, like, it's a little bit easier for Briar to beat an Oldheim than like a Fire or Katsu, I think. Same thing with Rhinar. So, it's not that Ice will always beat Aggro, right? It's just that's, I think, the natural consensus of how these archetypes work. Yeah, let me know what you think. If y'all agree or disagree, totally fine. Like I said, I'm not going to do a tier list because I think it's way too early for that, and the meta is too wide open to do that effectively. I think you're just kind of, super guessing at this point. But I do think these buckets are usable and viable. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to. If not me, go to our Fleshbug creator. Leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff, especially with the new set coming out, so we can get more people seeing this game. And yeah, hopefully y'all having a good rest of your day. If you're still here, drop into Discord, say hi. We have a good community going, over 100 members already in like just under 2 weeks. So super good so far. But yeah, let me know what y'all think, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.